Republic that if Chancellor Kohl asks us to be of some assistance, I'm certain we would give it serious consideration. I mean, I don't know what it is they'd have in mind, but because I think with a truly open border, it is hard to predict how many will be trying to leave. And so it's a dynamic development, and we just have to wait and see. But our relationship with the Federal Republic is such that we would want to be of the maximum help if it was needed. So far, Germany has done a magnificent job in handling those who have preceded this new exodus.
Have you assured Mr. Kohl that if he does need help, that we'll be there for them?
Well, I haven't talked to him, Leslie, since this development, because he just went off to Poland. I talked to him about this last week and made very clear to him that we thought, I think it was last week, that made very clear to him that we thought they were handling it with great sensitivity. It's an enormous burden on the Federal Republic. And I don't remember that conversation. If I said, if we can be of any help, please let me know, but I'm sure he knows that's the case.
Did he give any indication of how far he'd be able to go to accommodate this influx of refugees? I think the number stands at about 110,000 now. Did he say, if it hits 1 million, we're going to have a real problem?
No, he didn't go into numbers at all, but he demonstrates a quiet confidence that the Federal Republic can cope. As I say, they have done a good job. And here's a new development in this rapidly changing part of the world that we can salute. And it's a dramatic happening for East Germany and, of course, for freedom.
Is this the end of the Iron Curtain, sir?
Well, I don't think any single event is the end of what you might call the Iron Curtain. But clearly, this is a long way from the harsh days of the harshest Iron Curtain days. A long way from that.
Mr. President, what do you think the implications are for the Warsaw Pact now? Can we say that this may be an indication that they're headed toward a loosening or even a dismantling of the Warsaw Pact?
Well, I think you have to say what you mean by Warsaw Pact. I mean, if it seems to me that it's certainly a loosening up in terms of travel. It concurs with the Helsinki Final Act, and it is a very good development. Our objective is Europe whole and free. And is it a step towards that? I would say yes. Gorbachev talks about a common home. Is it a step towards that? Probably so.
What do you think the implications are for immigration to this country, Mr. President? Do you think we'll be seeing very many of these new refugees?
There's no indication of that. These are Germans going to the Federal Republic of Germany.
What's the danger here of events just spinning out of control? Secretary Baker commented earlier about how rapid the pace of change has been in Eastern Europe. Nobody really expected this to happen as quickly as it did. Is there a danger here that things are accelerating too quickly?
Well, I wouldn't want to say this kind of development makes things be moving too quickly at all. It's the kind of development that we have long encouraged by our strong support for the Helsinki Final Act. So I'm not going to hypothecate that it may anything goes too fast. But we are handling it in a way where we are not trying to give anybody a hard time. We're saluting those who can move forward with democracy. We are encouraging the concept of a Europe whole and free, and so we just welcome it. But I don't like to go into a lot of hypothesis about too much change or too rapid change, or what I'd do, what our whole team here would do if something went wrong. I think it's being handled by the West very well, and certainly you salute the people in East Germany, GDR, whose aspirations for freedom seem to be a little further down the road now.
Mr. President, do you think now that East Germany appears to be moving in the direction of Poland and Hungary, that the rest of the Eastern Bloc can resist this? I'm
No.
thinking Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, Romania.
No.
Will they be the next?
I don't think anyone can resist it. in Europe or in Western Hemisphere.
Did you ever imagine?
That's one of the great things about dynamic change in Central America.
Did
It's
you ever
moving in our direction.
Did you ever imagine anything like this happening?
On your
Oh,
watch?
we've imagined it, but I can't say that I foresaw this development at this stage. No, I didn't foresee it, but imagining it, yes. When I talked about a Europe whole and free, we're talking about this kind of freedom to come and go, this kind of staying with and living by the Helsinki Final Act, which gives the people the rights to come and go.
You know, what you just said, this is a sort of great victory for our side in the big East-West battle, but you don't seem elated, and I'm wondering if you're thinking of the problems.
I'm not an emotional kind of guy.
Well, how
I mean,
elated are you?
Well, I'm very pleased, and I've been very pleased with a lot of other developments. And as I've told you, I think the United States part of this, which is not related to this development today particularly, is being handled in a proper fashion. And we'll have some that'll suggest more flamboyant courses of action for this country. And we're, I think, handling this properly with allies, staying in close touch, and this dynamic change, trying to help as development takes place, trying to enhance reform, both political and economic. And so the fact that I'm not bubbling over, maybe it's getting along towards evening, because I feel very good about it.
What I wanted to ask is the second part of that was, is your second thought, what are we going to do if it really does explode over there coming into play here? I mean, obviously, if they just flood into West Germany, they're handling it now, but they've only gotten 200,000. What if they get 1 million? What if they get 2 million?
Well, what I'd like to think is that the political change in the GDR would catch up very fast with this liberation, if you will. You may remember that before I went to Poland, I don't know whether Jim Baker was sitting next to me. I know Brent was there and John Sununu, and I was asked by a Polish journalist if I were a young Pole, what would my advice be? And what I said is, I think you ought to stay there and participate in this dramatic change in your country. You ought to feel the surge of freedom, feel the move toward democracy, and be a part of it. And these are Germans, and Germans love their country. And at some point, I think a lot of Germans who have felt pent in and unable to move are going to say, look, we can move, but wouldn't it be better to participate in the reforms that are taking place in our own country? So I think it's too early to predict it, because these openings are there. That means everybody is going to take off.
So do you think this will